Hey, thank you guys for joining the Sunday night live stream. If you have any questions or comments, leave them in the chat box below. While I'm waiting for people to join, I want to tell you a little story about some of the frustrations of living here. You know, I really like living in Mexico. It's why I live here, but it certainly has its frustrations sometimes. And this most recent time, it's in the form of what it takes to get a gym membership. So I've joined two other gyms in Mexico, and the first one it was a very basic small town gym, and I just went in there. I gave them cash for the monthly dues. They wrote my name in a notebook and the date and the amount I paid, and that was it. I was a member. The next time it was Anytime Fitness. I go in there and give them my information. 5 or 10 minutes later, I'm giving them my credit card for payment, and I walk out with my little key fob, and I'm a member for the next year. Well, this time it was different. Like those last two times, super easy. This time it was like, okay, come and take a tour. So Maya and I went and took a tour. And then we ended up deciding that we did want to join. So then we're like, okay, what are the next steps? And they're like, okay, come in, bring all these documents, including your proof of address, your official identification. What else? So they wanted like basically a passport photo. So like that stuff, not too big of a deal. But then we go in, and then we have to fill out this application that's asking questions like, what do you do for work? What's your monthly income? What's your blood type? Like, like this is a freaking gym membership. Are you kidding? And then apparently we can't get the membership that day. We have to then get approved. So I don't know. They like think they're a fancy country club or something, but it's just like a regular gym. Uh, but yeah, it then took 4 days to get approved to become a member. And then they're like, okay, well, here's where you need to send the money for the dues. And they don't accept cash or credit card. You have to do a bank transfer from one Mexican bank to another Mexican bank. And then, which that's not too abnormal to have to do a bank transfer here. But Mai said she had never seen this in her whole life. After doing the bank transfer, she has to send them a proof of the transfer, and she can't just like send them a screenshot of the transfer on her BBVA app like she normally does when she needs like a proof of payment. They're like, no, you have to go on the Bank of Mexico website and fill out this form, and then get all these details for that specific money transfer. And it's like, oh my gosh, we have to do all of this to get a freaking gym membership. So yeah, that's my story of the day. I just built my own home gym at that point, bro. Right? It's a front for organ harvesting. Well, their parking lot, surprise, surprise, when we went was basically completely empty. So, maybe they are harvesting the organs of anyone who joins. Oh my gosh. Okay. Lily asks, why would they ask for your blood type? I mean, that's something I've never had asked for doing something like that, but what I can think of is in case you get injured while you're there. Or maybe it's for the organ harvesting thing. I don't know. Maybe some blood types are better for organ transplants. Hi, good to see you here. Thanks for joining from LA. We have someone joining from Houston. Good to see you here, Anne and Shelly. Another one from Texas. Thanks all for joining. Daniel asks, any golf course communities in Queretaro that have homes for sale? Yes. Yeah, I mean, all of them have homes for sale. So you have Balvanera, you have Club Campestre. Well, you have Club Campestre, and then you have another Club Campestre that's in, what's it called? El Campanario. You have Juriquilla, and then you have Zipata. However, I'll tell you, Daniel, these golf communities, they're pretty closed. Like if you don't know someone there, you're probably not getting a membership, except for Zibata. Uh, like that one, I think that one's more open to like people joining. So like I've reached out to these golf courses and I never get a response, like inquiring about a membership. Nobody ever responds. Edward says, seems like the only exercising you're getting is an exercise in futility. Yeah. Lily asked Jordan, did you feel the earthquake that hit Jalisco? It was a 7.4. No, I've still never felt an earthquake in my entire life. Mai felt it. She was at work at the time. Unless they approve your blood type. Yeah, I was like, why do I need to get approval? Like, and why would it take 4 days to get approval? Are you running a background check? Are you like stalking our social media or what? And what would get me declined? I don't know. Hey, thanks for the super chat. The first one of the night. Hi from Vegas, going to Querétaro in a week, thanks to Tangerine Travels. Cool. Hope you enjoy your trip. Michael asked, did you keep your U.S. citizenship or are you dual citizenship or are you dual citizen? What's the benefit? So I still have my U.S. citizenship and I do not have a Mexican citizenship yet. If you keep your U.S. citizenship, you would be protected by like the U.S. Embassy if you ever needed that. So that might be a benefit in certain circumstances. You have to continue paying taxes no matter where you live in the world if you're making any money. So that's one big drawback of keeping your U.S. citizenship. Having the U.S. passport is one of the more powerful passports in the world, so that's a big benefit to have that. As for getting Mexican citizenship, well, it makes certain things easier in Mexico, like either having permanent residency or citizenship. Like another benefit is getting a second passport. But a lot of things are more difficult if you don't have permanent residency or a passport. For example, you can't sign up for certain things. Like, as an example, I want to get the Costco Mexico credit card, but I can't because I'm not a permanent resident or a citizen. So there's just some random things like that. And then, of course, getting the Mexican citizenship would allow you to vote if you have an interest in that. It would allow you to participate in political events or political protests if you have any interest in that. Well, there goes my plans. I also wanted a house on a golf course. You could do Zibata, but the others, yeah, it's been a little frustrating. And like, even when I know people who are members, and like, even when I'm friends with people who are members, at these country clubs, at these golf courses. And when I like ask them about becoming a member, they always like sidestep the question. They're like, oh, or like, eh, they've never actually answered to me how to become a member or like if I can or anything like that. Uh, but they'll just invite me with, oh, like come with me instead. Or like, for example, I was asking one of my friends who's a member at Club Campestre here. I'm like, hey, I'm interested in learning more about getting a membership there. Like, can you like tell me some more about it? He's like, here, contact this guy. Here you can like, he'll put you in contact with someone who will rent you a membership so you don't have to buy one. But like that was the closest I got to uh, getting any information about getting membership at one of these uh, clubs. And yeah, that didn't pan out either. And these are like people who I actually hang out with and will go have a drink with and things and spend time with who like, for example, this guy from Club Campestre, one morning after seeing a post on social media, he called me like freaking out. He's like, hey, what were you doing last night? Where were you? And he's like, I saw you, I saw a picture posted with you with these people. And I'm like, so he's talking to me like freaking out about this. And I was like, why? He's like, do not hang out with them. Like they are very, very bad people. You do not want to be associated with them. I'm like, oh, okay, thanks. But like, so this is someone pretty close to me, but still I couldn't get a straight answer about getting a membership at one of these places. Daniel asked, what banks would you recommend if you have a pension and Social Security as well? Are there any U.S. banks that are in Mexico? So there's BBVA, there's HSBC, and there's one that's pretty popular among expats here, but the name is slipping my mind. Yeah, sorry, I don't remember it. But I know someone who had HSBC in Canada and then opened an HSBC account here, and she had nothing but problems with that account here. So based on that experience, I couldn't recommend HSBC. Most Mexicans recommend BBVA. But yeah, there's one that's really popular amongst expats that might be your best bet, but the name's slipping my mind, sorry. Jen asks, I've also read that if you sell a property, you will pay a very high amount in capital gains if you aren't a resident. So you're going to need more than just residency. So it's going to have to be, if you sell a home and you don't want to pay the capital gains tax, which is significant, you have to become a resident, you have to have an RFC, that RFC has to be on your electric bill. Basically an RFC is tax ID number here. And also it has to be your primary residence. You can't own it through a corporation. If you own it through a corporation and you sell it, well, then you're going to have to pay those capital gains taxes. If you own it through a trust and sell it, well, then you can be exempt from those capital gains taxes. They are very bad people. If a local said that to me, I'd be heavily motivated to get close with them. Just, you only live once. And why the hell not? Let's see what happens. I think they stole from him, based on what I gathered. But he was pretty quiet about it. Is it possible to rent a one-bedroom home with a fenced-in yard for under $500? Yes. I've done that in Puerto Morelos for $300, but that was a couple of years ago. So maybe that $300 rental might be $400 now. So yeah, definitely possible. Linda asked, what VPN would you recommend? Linda, I've tried a lot of them, and they're not all equal. There's some that are way, way better than others. So after trying a lot of them, I liked Surfshark, and that's who I signed up to be an affiliate for. So if you're interested in using my affiliate link, you can go to tangerinevpn.com, and that will forward you right to Surfshark. Aurea Films, thanks for the super chat. How'd you like the Canelo fight? We thought it was a little dull. Where'd you guys watch it? We'll believe he'll fight again next May. Gracias. I'm embarrassed to say we forgot about it. Yeah. So we didn't watch it. Did you feel the earthquake? Hope all's well. No, I didn't feel it. Queretaro doesn't really get earthquakes. So even when people do feel it, it's really weak. So I didn't feel it. Mai was at work and she did. But like, just to give you an example of how little of a worry earthquakes are here, I know somebody who has this massive tequila collection, and he has bottles that are thousands upon thousands of dollars, like Herradura bottles from the 1800s, for example, that still have the original tequila in it. And he has all these bottles in a room with no protection to keep them from falling off shelves. So like that's how little of worry it is. Like a $10,000 bottle doesn't matter. Because it's just not going to fall off. Brighter Focus Life says, wanted to say I love your new logo and profile picture. Thank you. Honestly, I don't know if that's going to be the permanent one, but I just wanted to change it and get the car out of the logo. By the way, if you guys are interested in Mexico videos, go check out her videos. Ben asked, do you feel more financially secure in Mexico than in the US? Not sure how to answer this, but I'll tell you that, like, my cost of living is a lot lower. I know I can get by on much less money here than in the US. So for that reason, I feel more financially secure, because if I were to lose all of my income sources, well, then I would still have money coming in, or I wouldn't have money coming in. I would be able to survive a much longer period of time here than if living in the US. Very Jerry with the 1999 super chat. Thanks very much. Have your favorite beverage on me. I appreciate that. Melissa says, Buenas noches from Houston, Texas. Where's mine tonight? She wasn't feeling like being on camera tonight. And I don't know how long I'm going to stay on because it's much later than I normally start the streams. But figured I'd hop on for a little bit and hang out with you guys. Hi, thank you for your show. I've been thinking about retiring in Mexico. Is it realistic to think about a long-term visa? Do you recommend it? Yeah. Yes, I think it's realistic, and yes, I recommend it. And if you can qualify for it now, get it while you can qualify. Because, like, for example, if you get permanent residency, you never have to qualify for it again, and you have it for the rest of your life. And that gives you the legal right, but not the obligation to live in Mexico. So if you have permanent residency, you can spend as much or as little time as you want to here. Nancy asks, how's the weather there today? I'm headed to Florida on vacation to Disney Tuesday, which is supposed to be hit by a hurricane. Well, I hope for your sake and everyone else's there that it misses you. The weather was nice. It was probably about 80 degrees Fahrenheit for a high, which is pretty typical of Queretaro. Thank you, Esmeralda, and appreciate you being, appreciate you moderating and everything. And yes, please subscribe if you're not subscribed. We have a new goal to hit 300,000 subscribers by the end of January, and we need your help to get there. Get it while you can qualify. Good advice. Income requirements are always going up. Yeah, and they're probably going to go up another 20% at the end of the year. So if you can do it before the end of December, even better. Jason, thanks for the super chat. Are there a lot of digital nomads in Mexico? Yes, there are. There's getting to be a whole lot of them actually since COVID started. A lot more have started coming here. And I think it's a good place to be a digital nomad overall. I'm having some frustrations with internet at this new place. So basically the lady who owns this house, she's like, hey, I already have this contract with this company. It's the company that almost everybody in this community uses because it's the most reliable. Do you want to keep that contract so you don't have to like wait for them to install a new one? Like, sure. So with that company, I pay for 300 megabits per second upload and download. And I mean, I get fast speeds when I'm connected via Ethernet. For whatever reason, the Wi-Fi sucks, or it just isn't that good. And I think it's because the modem they provided is one that's used for lower speeds and just doesn't have the technology. Because I mean, I don't personally know a lot about them, but I mean, I know like the looks of the ones they generally use for slower speeds and the looks of the ones they generally use for higher speeds. And this has the looks of the older ones for slower speeds. But like I know being a digital nomad, I'm bringing up internet because internet's obviously really important. So I have fast speeds when I'm connected via Ethernet cable. So I have like the Ethernet cable going up to my desk. And so yeah, that's usually good. However, in the past week, The internet has gone out twice, 2 different days. I was without internet for almost the entire day. And the last house I was living here, I never had these problems. Like the only time my internet went out was when the power went out. And other than that, it was great. Well, here I have fiber optic, but it's gone out twice in the last week. And personally, I can't be without internet. Like my like everything I do for a living, it depends on having internet. So I just went to this other company. I went to this company called Telmex, which is supposed to be less reliable than the company I'm using here at this place. However, I'm like, okay, I guess I'll have 2 unreliable internet services, and then hopefully at least one of them will always be working. That's my thinking. Rachel says the income requirements for temporary residency and permanent residency are going up by 15% as of January. Okay, thank you very much. I hadn't heard the numbers yet. The 20% was just a guess. By the way, they go up however much the minimum wage goes up in Mexico. And every year for like the past 5 or 6 years, it's been going up by about 15 or 20% a year. 57 Chevy, thanks for the $20 super chat. Really appreciate that. Hey Jay, that last video was great. All of your recent videos have been very good. Thoughts on how the channel is doing and any hints of future directions? For FYI, spent the last couple of weeks in Merida, Uxmal, great. Canelo fight, yawn fest. Yeah, as for the last video, thanks. That's one of my favorite videos that put out in a while. I got a comment on the channel that's like, can't you like come up with something better? I mean, I thought it was great, but and I think most people did as well. But this particular person didn't like it, and they're like, can't you come up with something better? You only release 1 video a week, but let me tell you what went into that video. So went out recording on 2 different days, then had to send the footage to my editor. It went through 5 revisions. So he sends me 1 draft. I like go through it and like figure out all the changes I want. Did that 5 times. And then after all that was done, since part of the video was in Spanish, I had to get English subtitles on the whole thing. So then I sent that off to a subtitler. And then that took 2 revisions. So 2 days of recording, 7 revisions later. So, I mean, like, that's why I only do 1 video a week. In fact, I'm thinking about doing fewer videos than that. But yeah, if you haven't checked it out, go check out yesterday's video. I think it's pretty cool. It's Maya and I went out into like the streets of Queretaro, asking people if they feel safe living here, if anything bad has ever happened to them, what they like about living here, what they don't like about living here. And for me, it was really interesting, very eye-opening. And then there's a nice surprise at the end of that as well. So I thought it was pretty cool. Thoughts on how the channel is doing and hints of future directions. Well, like in the future, there will be a little bit more travel than there has been recently, I think. But yeah, I want to do some real estate videos. I would love to do more going out on the street and talking to people like that video. I thought that turned out to be pretty cool. And then more vlogs around the city, more travel vlogs. I think it's going to stay in Mexico, though. I think the majority of the channel is going to be in Mexico. And glad you had a good time on your trip. I know of anyone doing neighborhood tours in Querétaro? Yes, let me find his information for you. Where is he? Here he is. Okay, his name is Ruben, Queretaro neighborhood tours. I'm writing it in the chat so you can reference it. And he also does transportation services. I'm giving you his WhatsApp number. He speaks English very well, so no problem contacting him in English or Spanish. Make sure his number's right. Okay, there it is. I just posted it in the chat for you. Carolyn asks, how to resolve your speeding issues? Greeting from Phoenix, Arizona. Thanks for asking about that. Yeah, so if you guys don't know the story, moved into this neighborhood. And then a little bit after moving in, Mai gets a phone call from the administrator. And the administrator's freaking out, like, basically, like, almost screaming at her. She's like so freaked out about how fast I was driving through the neighborhood. And she's like, you've got to tell him to slow down. He was going way too fast. He went from this house to this house, and he should have gotten there in 23 seconds, but he got there in 21 seconds. And I can't even say this with a straight face. 21 seconds instead of 23 seconds. And she's like freaking out like it's the end of the world. And she wanted me to come in and sign something acknowledging that I was speeding. And said that the next time it happens, there's going to be a fine. But it's been a couple weeks since then, and I just ignored it. I never went there. I didn't say anything, and we haven't heard back. So, yeah. Oh, in regards to my Wi-Fi speeds, wireless router is not configured to maximize speed. So let me give you some more information about this. I also have a mesh network connected to it, and this mesh network is good for speeds up to a gigabyte, or a gigabyte. I forget. Anyway, 1,000 megabits. And for some reason, when I'm connected to that, I only can get up to 100 megabits per second on Wi-Fi. But I'm paying for 300. And like, even if I'm connected by Ethernet to my mesh system, I'm only getting 100. OMG, it's really you, dude. Your videos are the bomb. I've been waiting to see you live. Man, I'm so glad I just logged on. Hello from Ontario. Cool. Hey, thanks for joining. Appreciate it. Try Starlink. Yeah, that's definitely a consideration. I'd be more like, I think that's Elon Musk thing, right? So you have to buy the equipment for that and install the equipment, I think. Is it something that goes like up on your roof? To me, if I'd be more inclined to do that if I own the house instead of renting. But maybe you can tell me if like there's a significant process to install that or something like that. Your advice if we want to purchase a property in Mexico. I'm going to link a YouTube video that I made in the comment section here, because like all the advice I have for you would be in that video, but I'll also cover a couple of other things in this live stream. I'm just scrolling through the channel here, trying to find that video. Okay, here it is. And then I'll copy it and post it in the chat. So As for my advice, avoid Ejido land at all costs. That's I'm putting the spelling of Ejido in the chat right now. So there are so many problems that can come from buying Ejido land, whether you're a foreigner or whether you're Mexican. There is technically a way to do it, but it's super complicated, and you better have a team of attorneys who know exactly what they're doing. Otherwise, it is going to end very badly for you. But my advice, like my biggest tip for purchasing property in Mexico is there's a million and one things that can go wrong. And you're not going to know even a tiny percentage of what could go wrong. As like someone who's an outsider, as someone who's not super familiar with real estate in Mexico and hasn't seen a ton of transactions. So my advice would be to hire an attorney who knows a lot about real estate, who works on real estate transaction due diligence. And whenever I bring this up, I always get pushback on this because they're like, no, what you don't need an attorney. What you need is a notary. And while it's true that every real estate transaction in Mexico has to go through a notary, and they're the ones who the notaries here are different than they are in the US. Here, they have to be a lawyer. I believe they have to be of Mexican descent. They have to be appointed by the governor or something like that. And they're the ones who basically make all the transactions of real estate legal and making sure the title's good. But I've seen every example I've ever heard of someone having problems in real estate could have been avoided if they just got an attorney to advocate on their behalf, like an attorney who really knows what they're doing in terms of real estate due diligence. So that's my recommendation. And it's not going to be that expensive, especially compared to the price of buying property. Like the cost for an attorney is nothing. So yeah, I do that. Best cell phone carrier, the one almost everyone says is the most reliable here is Telcel. However, there are some pockets where people might use AT&T. For example, I remember going to Tepoztlan, and for whatever reason, Telcel sucks there in the state of Morelos, in that small town. So everybody who lives in that small town has AT&T. But overall, throughout most of Mexico, Telcel has the best service. Juan says, Mexico getting hit by inflation as well. Oh yeah. I've noticed prices going up a lot here. In fact, we went to a taco joint in a recent video and then just went back there tonight. And in the video, when we went, the tacos were 12 pesos, and tonight they were 13 pesos. So 1 peso might not seem like a lot, but that's what, 6-7% increase in a few months. Maria Films, thanks for the $4.99 super chat. Really appreciate that. Do you think that if it wasn't for Mai's foot injury, you guys would I've gone to Las Vegas, Baja California, and Monterey already. Is her surgery still on? I mean, we definitely would have traveled more already. I don't know to where exactly. And as for her surgery, let us give you an update in an upcoming video. I'd rather like talk about that when I'm with her. In regards to Starlink, Streak says self-installation is easy. No need to worry about that if you don't own the home. Okay, cool. Good to know. Thank you. John asks, what is Ejido land? So if I try to explain this, I know I'm going to butcher it, but I'm going to give you a quick explanation to the best of my knowledge. A while back, many years ago, the Mexican government gave like designated land for certain communities. And it's, to my understanding, kind of like a commune where nobody really owns it, like the whole community owns it. And yeah, those people living there like will often work the land, like grow crops or something on it. And one of the biggest problems with buying Ejido land is they'll sell it to you, and it's usually a really good price. So it's very attractive, like people buying beachfront Ejido land. And then they know there's a bunch of ways that they can get that land back. So then they wait for you to invest a bunch of money on it, build your home, and then they take it from you. Okay, here's a better explanation. An ejido is an area of communal land used for agriculture in which community members have usufruct, I don't even know that word, rights, rather than ownership rights to land, which in Mexico is held by the Mexican state. Have you considered buying property sooner than you had been thinking due to the pending economic crisis? Honestly, Franco, I spent all my money buying Tangerine Travels, so I don't have any money to buy a home. So yeah, that'll be a while down the road. Maria, thanks for the $20 super chat. Really appreciate that. And also thanks for being a channel member. She says, hi, Jordan. Thank you for spending time with us tonight. Hope Mai gets better soon. Say hi for me. Also, will you please say hi to my hubby, Jeff? He is also a fan. Hi, Jeff. Thanks for joining. Appreciate it. Bethany asked, any plans to go back to Hidalgo? Yes, I would love to. Christina says I look like Shia LaBeouf in the thumbnail. Okay. I'll have to look at that later and see if I can see the resemblance. Matt says, it might not be polite to say, but to most of us gringos, even the poor ones, a peso increase isn't much in tacos. I haven't seen inflation be that bad here compared to what I hear in the US. You know, Matt, I actually don't think a peso increase is a huge deal to most Mexicans either. However, when everything you're buying is increasing by 7% in a few months, well, then that becomes a serious problem. But yeah, that taco place was still totally packed, just like it was a few months ago or a couple of months ago. So it hasn't stopped people from going, that's for sure. Josh says, I've noticed 5 pesos inflation in sodas. I've noticed the price of Coke's going up a lot. I've been paying a lot closer attention to the price of things. And for example, this tea kettle that I bought for 800 pesos is now selling like a year later for 1,000 pesos. What is that? A 25% increase in a year. I used to buy Johnny Walker Black Label, and I was getting those bottles for about 600 to 700 pesos. Now they're 1,000 pesos. That's gone up by like 40%, 30 to 40% in 6 months or a year. I'm noticing it in almost everything here. Skylar says, sorry, to be honest, I got a notification about this, so obviously it happened for a reason. What's this live channel about? If you don't mind me asking in a very respectful way. Yeah, no problem at all. So once a week, I'll put out a video on Facebook and on YouTube, and those are mostly about my life living in Mexico. And then occasionally on Sundays, like maybe every couple weeks or so, I'll do a live stream where it's like a Q&A session. Brandon, did the earthquake affect you? Not at all. No, didn't feel it. Queretaro doesn't really get earthquakes, and you rarely feel anything here. Kim asked, is this live? Yes, it is. Would you like to marry Mai? Soon? What time? I don't know how soon it will be, but like, yeah, I'm gonna marry her. I have no doubt in my mind. It was like probably only a month after we met. I remember we were leaving a sushi restaurant, and we were walking, holding hands, and I just stopped her, and I told her, I'm going to marry you. And like I knew she felt the same. I didn't have to ask. Like I knew it already, because I never felt anything even close to what I feel with her. So yeah. Don't easy. Thanks for the $9.99 super chat. Hola, Jordan. Sorry I've been absent. Oh, no worries. A lot of work at work. Question: have you seen first of Mexicans being bothered by the influx of gringos moving to Mexico, especially the major cities? So I first mentioned this in a video about a year ago. that I was starting to notice more hostility towards foreigners, and like more people saying, or like more Mexicans saying to foreigners, telling them to leave, especially online on social media and such. Uh, and then a couple months ago, some article came out like talking about Mexico City, and it got a lot of traction and was picked up by major news networks in the US, and even like got traction here in Mexico. And ever since that article came out, I have noticed another significant jump in the number of people telling me to leave. It's a shame because I always thought that Mexicans were so welcoming, and like I always felt really welcomed here, uh, and I really appreciated that fact. And now that's changing for a lot of people, I think. And I I think the reason behind this is that, well, so one of my favorite authors who has literally driven around the entire world twice. He's been to every country in the world. Uh, he says that anytime a country is having bad times, with almost zero exceptions, they blame the foreigners. It's easy to blame the foreigners because they they look funny, they talk funny, like they smell funny, like whatever. They're just not like you and I. So it's easy for people to blame the foreigners. It's easy for politicians to blame the foreigners. It's easy for the media to blame the foreigners. And right now, like the rest of the world, Mexico is being hit with a lot of inflation. Prices are rising like crazy, and it's causing problems for the locals. And the locals see foreigners moving in, like to certain places, like the popular neighborhoods in Mexico City, like the Polancos, the Condesas. To They see foreigners moving into the popular tourist destinations, and they see real estate prices going up like crazy, and they associate that with, okay, more foreigners, real estate prices going up, it's because of the foreigners. And well, that's true. Like, yes, foreigners absolutely have an effect on real estate prices in those places that are very popular with foreigners. Uh, but like, do they have an effect on real estate prices here in Queretaro, where there's very few foreigners relative to the population as a whole? No, no. Foreigners moving to Querétaro doesn't affect the real estate market at all. But even still, like, I see foreigners, I see the prices going up, blame the foreigners for that happening. But if you think about it all, like, it quickly becomes apparent that it's not because of the foreigners, at least in most cases. Yes, like in certain cases with real estate, yeah. But in most cases, it's not. Like, for example, the money supply from the Banco de Mexico has doubled in the past 5 years. All else equal, that will make prices double. What else? Commodity prices all around the world have skyrocketed in the last couple of years. So all of the inputs to everything that people are buying is going up like crazy. The price of corn, the price of wheat, the price of iron ore, the price of steel, the price of crude oil, literally everything, all of the inputs going into all the manufacturing all around the world is increasing like crazy. And that's going to increase the prices all around the world. So, like, yeah, I think foreigners are getting blamed for rising prices, but in most cases, they're not at fault. Arigas, have you ever seen unusual animals that are eaten in Mexico? I see duck on the menu a lot. I see rabbit on the menu a lot. Bugs like grasshoppers, very popular in Oaxaca. In Tasco Guerrero, they eat stink bugs. That's right. Yeah. Talking to a taxi driver there. like I'd heard about them. I was like, so have you ever tried them? He's like, oh yeah, I love them. Oh yeah, they're so good. Put them in a taco, put a little bit of Canelo cheese in there. Oh, and you make a soup out of humiles. It's so good. PJ asks, how are the gas prices there? Gas prices are actually one thing that haven't gone up much here. And that's because they were already expensive, and Mexico isn't subject to the world market when it comes to gas prices here because they produce their own oil. And the oil here, it's basically a monopoly by the Mexican government. So it's a big source of revenue for the Mexican government. And about the entire time I've been living in Mexico, a gallon of gas has been about $4, and it hasn't changed much. So right now, if you shop around in Queretaro, you can find gas for as low as $19.99, or about 20 pesos a liter. Jason, thanks for the super chat. Have you stayed in Isla Mujeres or the surrounding is okay with a day trip? So I've been to Isla Mujeres twice, but both times it was just for the day. I've never stayed overnight there. I'd love to, though. Isla Mujeres is probably the prettiest beach that I've been to in the whole country. So yeah, I'd absolutely love to go. How much is a bottle of Coke in Mexico? So I've noticed the prices going up. I think for your average, like 20-ounce bottle, it's somewhere around 17 to 19 pesos now. And I think that's up from like 13 or 14 pesos. So 17 to 19 pesos is, oh my gosh, I can't do math right now. $1.65 to $1.80, if my math is right. Amizi, thanks for another super chat. I don't know if you agree, but I find it unfair that Mexicans would complain about foreigners. When Mexicans moved into the USA, they changed the demographics and culture, yet they demand respect. I think it's hard to paint everyone with the same brush. Yeah, Mexicans moving into the U.S. have changed demographics a lot. They've certainly changed things about the U.S., especially in certain cities. And I think someone like a Mexican who moved to the U.S. is going to have a different perspective than someone who's a Mexican who's living in Mexico and has lived in Mexico their whole life. But yeah, I don't know. I would have to think about that some more. Betsy, do you think that the government of Mexico is facing inflation better than the US? Well, so both countries have a central bank. There's the Banco de Mexico and there's the Federal Reserve. And the biggest thing you can do to fight, well, two big things you can do to fight inflation: reduce government spending and raise interest rates. And the US hasn't reduced government spending, they've increased it. So that's going to fuel the inflation fire. And the Federal Reserve, the central bank of the US, has been raising interest rates, but what is it now? 3.25 after their latest 75-point rate hike. So 3.25% rate for the federal funds rate when inflation by their measure is north of 9. And by other measures, it's closer to 20%. And you have to raise the interest rate above the rate of inflation to bring inflation down. Because otherwise people don't have an incentive to save, to stop spending money, to incentivize savings, which then incentivizes investment, and investment increases supply, supply brings the prices down. So Bank of Mexico, I don't know what they've been doing with government spending. I do know that they started raising rates, and aggressively, much sooner than the Federal Reserve did. So in that sense, I think the Banco de Mexico has been doing a better job than the Federal Reserve. But it's like a huge trade-off. There's these giant bubbles, and if they raise rates, like they're going to prick these bubbles and cause an economic collapse. And if they don't raise rates, then inflation goes out of control. So they're in a tough spot that they created. Wandering Mavic says, have you been to Puerto Vallarta? I'm going there next week. Yeah, I have some Puerto Vallarta videos on the channel. Went there last year. It was really cool. It was a really good time. You should go check out, just go to Tangerine Travels and search for Puerto Vallarta and you'll see the videos. I think you'll get a lot of good tips for your upcoming trip if you go watch those videos. Whoa, $100 super chat. Thank you so much, Snoopy. Been a fan for such a long time. Just wanted to thank you for all the amazing content and for sharing a part of your life with us. I'm sure when you and your girlfriend have children, they will be really cute. Here's a little something for our date night, or a lot of something for many date nights. Thank you so much. Really appreciate that. Wow. I think that's tied for the biggest super chat I've ever gotten. So thanks so much. The World According to Jim. Do they sell power drinks in Mexico? Monsters or Rockstar? And how much are they compared to American money? So I know they sell Red Bull, and I think I've seen Rockstars for sale. But honestly, I don't know how much they are. Like, it's something I never buy. So if I had to guess, like, this is a really wild guess, but it would be approximately the same price they are in the US. Edward, thanks for being a channel member. Really appreciate that. You mentioned Coca-Cola and someone asked about the current price. I noticed that Mexican Coke started using corn syrup instead of all sugar. It does not taste as good as before. Yeah, I've noticed that too. And I don't even know if you can find the original like Mexican Coke anymore. I'm always like, anytime I want a Coke, I'm looking for that. And then I'm looking at the ingredients and yeah, corn syrup, high fructose corn syrup, what I'm seeing. Unless you get the sugar-free version or the diet version, and then it's like aspartame. World According to Jim says that's a false narrative. Mexican Coke still use cane sugar, not corn syrup. Next time you're in a convenience store here, Jim, grab the Coke bottles, turn them around, look at the ingredients list. I think you'll see that has changed. Brian, Jordan, have you bought any silver coins or bullion in Mexico? If so, how much per ounce? I think it'd be wise to do so. I haven't, and I haven't looked, but I mean, I do know the premiums have gone crazy in the US for those, like people having to pay $10 an ounce over spot for American Eagles. Or like if you just want a 1 ounce rounds, like $4 or $5 over spot. But yeah, I'm not sure what the premiums are like here. I'll have to check that out sometime. Joe says, why would it be false? Have you read the recently the ingredient label on a bottle of Coke? I have. It contains cane sugar and jarabe de maíz de alta fructosa. And jarabe de maíz de alta fructosa is high fructose corn syrup. Yeah, and Joe, I've seen the same thing reading the labels. Manuel, thank you so much for the 200 peso super chat. Really appreciate that. No question attached there, but I'll see if you left another question elsewhere because I know sometimes people don't know how it works and accidentally submitted a super chat without anything written there. Kim House, are you still live? Yes, this is still live. Argentina Pierre Lopez asked, what did you study? I studied supply chain management. It's part of the business school there at Arizona State. Christopher says, I love Tangerine Travels. When will you visit Rosarito? Soon, I hope. I'd love to go to that part of the country, part near San Diego, the Rosarito, Encenada wine country there, Valle de Guadalupe. Where's your girlfriend? Michael asks. I didn't feel like being on camera tonight, so it's just me. Manuel, to go along with your super chat, are there any situations that you used to consider culture shocks when you first came here and now are business as usual or totally normal to you? Oh yeah, there's some of those. Like, for example, being outside of a department store or like certain stores and malls, and there's a guy with a shotgun standing outside of the store, like who's there all the time. Like that was a total culture shock. Uh, Military and driving around with people with guns in the back. That was a big culture shock. So like the presence of guns, like out in your everyday life, that was a bit of a culture shock. Seeing people put uh, chile or like tahine on their fruit, that was a culture shock. uh, but it's so good. That one took me a while to try, but after I did, I'm like, okay, never going back. But yeah, I'm sure I could make a whole video on that. In fact, I'm going to write that video idea down right now. Things that used to be culture shocks, but now are normal to be. Okay. Anytime I get a video idea that I think would make a good video, I write it down in my list. Things that used to be culture shocks that are now normal. Okay. I have a list of like 400 videos that I want to do. And then anytime I'm feeling like I can't come up with good ideas, then I go scroll through that list. I'm like, what's a good one to do? Kick ass. Where did the print come from behind you? It's actually not a print, it's an original painting. But so there's that one. And then I have some others. So these are all by the same artist. So that's an original. This is a print. And this is a print. But it's by Calladitos. That's Calladitos. And they're a Mexican couple based in San Miguel de Allende. And yeah, I have a fourth piece from them as well. It's another original. It's huge. It's upstairs there. Yeah, I like them. This one, it's I don't love it, but I don't know. It's big walls in here that needed something in the space, and I thought it was cool. Mai didn't want me to get it, but then after it arrived, Mai decided she did like it. I thought that painting was Dr. Sivi. Dr. Simi Pooper. I'm not familiar with this. What is this? I have to look it up. Dr. Simi. Oh, I misspelled it. Okay. From Farmacia Similares. Okay. Come on, give me a good picture. Having trouble with the lighting here. There we go. It's kind of funny. Notice this year, Mexican Independence Day was celebrated much more in the US. It's still a big thing in Mexico. Oh, yeah, it's a huge thing here every year. Nice to have a collection from one artist grouping. Yeah, I like their work, and honestly, like it's I'm not just buying it for because I like it. I'm also buying it as an investment because I think they're going to be very popular. I think they're heading that direction. So I think that's nice that it can be both an investment and like a way to decorate the house and bring some light into my life. I regret not buying a Dr. Simi when I was in Mexico last month. That's funny. I never knew his name. Like I've seen him everywhere, of course, but yeah, I never knew his name. Christina says, "Do you recommend a video of yours from the last one of months? I missed some. Let me go to the channel and see which ones are my favorite recently." So, for sure, the one from yesterday. Yesterday, I really like that video. Uh, okay, yeah, I'm gonna post a couple in the chat that as a recommendation for you. Here's one. This is the one from yesterday. And then I thought this one was a lot of fun and pretty interesting. The second one is things my gringo boyfriend does that are super weird to me as a Mexican woman. And it's it's less about the relationship between my and me and more about like differences between the cultures. The Art of Will, thanks for the super chat. Will you do a vlog in Ensenada, Baja California? Yeah, definitely. I really want to get out to that area. Not sure when it will be though. Thank you for the super chat, WK. Thinking about flying down, buying an Dalica 250 adventure bike and exploring around Orizaba. Your thoughts? I love that area. It's really pretty. Um, really like Orizaba as well. Cool little city. Yeah, I'm sure you could have a lot of interesting adventures around there. Omar says, Jordan, congrats on the new home. Thank you. Now you have a now you have a different view on Mexico since your relationship with Mai, or at least a new perspective. Uh, Now I don't know if I have a different view about Mexico as a whole, but about particular aspects of things, yeah, definitely. There's been things I've learned, like things that I've gotten a new perspective of, for sure. Ben says, "Hey man, love your channel and content. Thank you for sharing and continued success. Thank you. Appreciate it. My plan is to travel from Toronto, Canada to Cancun really soon, this month or next, for about a week to 10 days in order to get about $10,000 Canadian worth of much needed dental work done. Would be double or triple the cost if I were to get the work done here in Canada, I think. Dentist in the hotel zone in Cancun has confirmed their employee would pick me up from the airport. Yeah. So that's pretty popular to come down here and get dental work done. In fact, when I was living in Phoenix, I did that. I didn't go to Cancun. I actually went to Los Algodones, which is right next to Yuma, Arizona. And basically, you go near Yuma, you park on the US side, you walk across the border, and I thought it was interesting walking across the border into Los Algodones there. You have a one-way gate, so people can only go from the US into Mexico, and you can't go the other way in the gate. To get back into the US, you have to go through like CBP, their Customs and Border Patrol. But going into Mexico, there's nobody there. You don't, there's no Mexican officials, or at least when I went, there wasn't anybody. You don't have to talk to anyone. You just walk across the border. Like if you were a criminal and wanting to flee the country, Los Algodones is a perfect place to do it. No, that's a joke. But yeah, that was surprising. But yeah, I needed about, I forget what it was, maybe 2,500 US dollars worth of dental work done, a couple of crowns or something, and a root canal. And then went to Los Algodones and got it done for $600, $700, something like that, which, to be honest, was still a lot more expensive than it could have been done in other places. For example, if you want cheap dental work, like go to Saltillo. Like Saltillo is the place to go for cheap dental work. Like if you're spending $10,000 Canadian in Cancun for that, maybe if you went to Saltillo, you'd be spending $2,000. Uh, Now you don't get a nice vacation out of it while you're there, but yeah, like looking at the prices of dental work in Saltillo, I couldn't believe it. Tortilla slapping. Was that in that video? Oh yeah, yeah, that was in that video where talking about cultural differences. That was fun. You have to make it to the end of the video if you want to see it though. Jason asks, why don't you eat street food? I do eat street food. I love street food. Just went for street tacos tonight. I may not have put much street food in videos recently, but I love street food. Can you buy a nice house in Mexico with under $100,000? So I mean, you're talking US dollars. So could I buy a house that I would like for less than $100,000? Yes. But everybody's definition of nice is different. So there's that. And like here in Queretaro, you're not getting much for under 100,000. Like, yes, there's companies that are building apartments that you can get for about 50,000 US dollars, but they're going to be pretty cheap materials they're using. The walls are going to be pretty thin. I've been in some of these apartments, and you can hear all of your neighbors. So if you want like the $50,000 apartment, yeah, you can get it, but just be prepared for like to have repair expenses and being able to hear lots of noises, things like that. But I mean, there's other places in Mexico that are a whole heck of a lot cheaper than in Querétaro. So, I mean, Querétaro is one of the more expensive cities in the country. So, like, I mean, you get to the smaller towns, yeah, your $100,000 is going to go a lot further. Or just like really any of the places that are less popular. Carlos says, I noticed that your dog is very quiet. I've never heard his howls. I know huskies and Malamutes are very talkative, aren't they? And such divas as well. Yeah, normally when I'm on a live stream, she'll like want attention right at that point. And I see you have a husky in your profile picture there. I'm not sure where she is. Maybe I can go get her later. Do you still have the orange car? Nah, that car's long gone. That car belonged to my ex, so she took it when we broke up, and she has sold it. Yeah, it says, but do they do a good job in Saltillo? I mean, it's a popular place for like dental tourism, so people are going back. I mean, I would do some research into it. I'm sure there's people who do great work, and there's other people who don't get as good of reviews. So I've never personally had work done there in Saltillo, so it's hard to say. They did fine work when I went to Los Algodones, uh, but going to Cancun and doing it there, yeah, it's going to be a lot cheaper than it is in Canada, but you are going to be paying extra for being in Cancun, and you're going to be paying a lot extra compared to other parts of Mexico. Matt says, in some city nobody talks about, like Pachuca de Soto, easier there. Yeah, so Pachuca's a big city in Hidalgo. Even in a gated community, I saw houses there for 70,000 or 80,000. Of course, you can get much cheaper in okay areas. Yeah, and like the city matters. What part of the city is going to make a big difference in pricing? And it's not like you can't find a place that's safe with nice weather and things like that and pretty, like Pachuca. It's in Hidalgo. Hidalgo's pretty safe. Uh, Nice weather year round there in Pachuca. You have the mountains nearby. You have these beautiful magic towns uh, close to there. It's a nice place. I consider buying something there if I wanted something on a budget. Is your ex still posting content through the channel? No, not here on Tangerine Travels. I bought this. I bought her half of the company, so now I'm the owner of Tangerine Travels, and everything coming on here is from me. In fact, like 5 months, starting like 5 months before I bought her half, I was basically running the entire channel for those 5 months, posting almost every single video. So she hasn't had much of a part on here in a long time. Moss asks, have you ever? Yeah, that's in the state of Nayarit, which, if you guys are familiar with Puerto Vallarta is in Jalisco. But if you go a little bit north of Puerto Vallarta to Sayulita, that's Nayarit. And that's where Tepic is. Spent one night in Tepic. It's I stayed in the cheapest Airbnb. There's a mosquito. Stayed in the cheapest Airbnb I've ever stayed in Tepic. It was, after all Airbnb fees, $9 a night. It was actually pretty nice. I mean, it was a pretty decent place. Like, it was a private room in a house. Yeah, there were other people living there, but parking inside of a secure gate in their house, beautiful views of the city. It was up on like the side of a mountain there. Like, you could see the whole city from the house. And I remember the bed was comfortable. They made breakfast in the morning, so breakfast was included for those $9. I never saw any of the city though, so like I don't have an opinion on the city because I didn't get to explore it at all. Matt says Hidalgo is not safe. I knew an American who went there. Who went there one day and never returned. Got kidnapped and beat up by El Chapo himself. Never again. So, like, if if you're getting kidnapped and beat up by a drug kingpin, what are you doing? Like, they don't just do that for fun. Like, if someone's threatening their business, sure, but just some random dude. But yeah, Hidalgo, I think, is considered one of the safer places here. People don't like have much of a worry driving in Hidalgo like they do in some states. I don't know. Maybe other people can chime in with their opinions on the safety of the state of Hidalgo. Joe, thanks for the super chat. You like street food and aguas frescas? Sending 50 pesos, which will buy you a liter of homemade tepache over at Invierno Street, north of Avenida Universidad. Okay, cool. Thanks, Joe. Appreciate that. Yeah, I've only tried tepache a couple of times. It's this fermented drink made from pineapple. It's pretty good. Matt asked, does my dislike you having videos of you two together on YouTube from the past? Tell you she doesn't love it. Um, but it is what it is. Like, it's part of my past, and yeah, they're there. And like, she's had to deal with people having all sorts of opinions about her and comparing her to my ex, and like people sending her messages on like Instagram asking about my ex, and it's just like stupid stuff like that. And yeah, lots of stuff like that bothers her, but she's been dealing with it well. Can't imagine $9 a night an Airbnb. There's parking inside of a gate. I would expect that would be all you got though, parking, right? That was actually using one of my favorite Airbnb hacks, and that is booking a new listing, because when people are having new listings, they're trying to get reviews, and it's harder to get bookings. So a lot of times they'll offer a discount. So there's that, basically a big new listing discount. It's more of a risk though, because sometimes you get something that's just bad. Done that before too. But use clues, use your investigatory skills to determine whether it's going to be a nice stay or not. And communicating with the host, like if they respond quickly, things like that can usually be a good sign that they're going to offer you a nice place to stay. Carlos asks, are you team pizza with pineapple or team without pineapple? I used to be very anti-pineapple on pizza, but as I've grown older, I like it more. I still rarely order a pizza with pineapple on it, but I don't hate it as much as I used to. Mr. Hello says, what are your thoughts on the city of Leon, Guanajuato? Cost of living, safety, things to do. What's the food scene like there? Honestly, I can't answer any of your questions. I haven't been to Leon, even though it's not that far away from Queretaro. As for safety, though, I can say that right now, the state of Guanajuato as a whole is one of the most dangerous states in the country. So that, along with Guerrero, Michoacan, Tamaulipas, those are probably those are probably your most dangerous states here. I don't know about the safety of Leon in particular. Polo Vega, thanks for joining. Hey Jordan, I've been watching your videos for almost 2 years. Greetings from Morelia. Thanks for watching. Love to go back to Morelia. Really enjoyed my time there. I think that's supposed to say delete the old videos. Number one, it'd be stupid to delete the old videos because, like, I paid a lot of money, like a shit ton of money for this channel, like way more than probably any one of you would guess. Uh, so, and every single video is making money every day. So even if it's just a penny. So, like, it'd be stupid to delete all these passive income streams, especially since I paid a ton of money for this, like expecting that to continue. And also, the sales contract actually forbids me from deleting the videos. And also, like, I want them there. Like, there's a lot of cool experiences and it has a lot of valuable information for people, and like it tells the whole story from the beginning. So I mean, I think it'd be a shame to delete all that. Blanca asks, have you been to San Luis Potosi? Only driving through, never like driven through the state, driven like through the city, but that's it. And Vinny asks, ever been to San Cristobal? So San Cristobal de las Casas is the full name, and that's in the state of Chiapas. And yes, I have. Went there for about 2 weeks. It's It's been a few years since I've been there, but cool place. Uh, very culturally rich. I think a little too culturally rich for me. Now, that might sound bad, but culturally rich means that it's very noisy. Lots of parades, lots of celebrations, lots of people setting off loud bombs and fireworks all the time for celebrations, things like that. But it's a neat place. One thing I have to say about that, though, if you go there, be careful about what you're eating and drinking. Like, there is no place in Mexico where more people get sick than San Cristobal, and some people don't get better until they leave there. Another ever been to question. I guess we're just doing a bunch of. Have you ever been here? Yes, I've been to Aguascalientes. Uh, really liked it. It's a city of probably approaching 1 million people, maybe 800,000 or so. Very safe, super affordable, nice weather, beautiful sunsets. Uh, Maybe not the most interesting city with the most things to do, but I'll tell you what, the people there were probably the nicest people I've met in all of Mexico. And I actually learned after going there that Aguascalientes is known as, like, they call themselves La Tierra de la Buena Gente, or the land of good people. And I think they're proud of that, and the people there really try to live up to that name. And I'll tell you what, like, a place can be amazing in every other way, and if it has bad people, it ruins the place. And even though Aguascalientes might not be the most exciting city, I think having amazing people can, like, make it a really great place to live. So here's a couple comments on the old videos. It's good to reflect. Nina says, I agree, keep the old videos. Blanca says, hi, Jordan. Hi. Thanks for joining the live stream. Oh, and here's lots of people saying, keep them for sure, don't delete them. What happened to Acapulco? It used to be a huge tourist area. Yeah, it was. And then I think there was just so much money there that, like, drug cartels moved in, and honestly, I'm kind of saying this with being pretty ignorant on the subject, but I'm seeing something happen in, like, a place like Tulum right now. But place is really popular for tourism, and then drug cartels move in wanting a piece of the action because they see that as a profitable place to be. And then various cartels start clashing, and then it becomes really dangerous with all of that fighting going on, and then scared the tourists away. And then, going to Acapulco these days and going into the hotels there, you're like going into a time capsule, because it's like you can tell that everything was built a long time ago. But I think it's changing. I think Acapulco is changing and is, like, slowly turning back into maybe something that it used to be. Because it's like, kind of, I see it as a cycle. Like, it's a beautiful area, beautiful place to be. huge tourist destination, lots of money. Drug cartels move in, end up ruining the place. Then, like, people move away, the money goes away, then things settle down. And after many years, there were a lot of years of bad stuff happening. And yeah, bad stuff still does happen there. But I think it's trending in the right direction now. And maybe in a few decades, it will be the pop-in tourist place it once was back when, in like the 40s and the 50s, when all the Hollywood movie stars wanted to go there, and that was the place to be. Christian asks, what cities would you say would be the best for high-speed internet or conducive to working online? In general, Christian, bigger the city, the faster the internet options are going to be. And like, so any of the big population centers, so like Mexico City, Guadalajara, here in Queretaro, Morelia, Tijuana, Aguascalientes, like all these bigger cities. Like there's quite a few cities that are 1 million people or more, and all of those are going to have good internet options. And that's not to say that smaller towns can't have good internet options either, but you just have to make sure that wherever you're moving to in that small town has fiber optic available. But yeah, I mean, honestly now, these days, they've made a lot of advancements in the last 4 years, 5 years since I've been in Mexico with their fiber optic networks. And in most places, you can get fiber optic. Now here, where I'm at in Querétaro, it's on the edge of the city, and it's in a less developed part of the city, which means like not all the internet companies have come here, and there's not a lot of them competing for the business. So right now where I live, I only have 2 options with 2 different companies that service this area, and neither one is super reliable. So I have both. Well, I don't have both. I have one right now, and I ordered the second one because I figured, okay, I'll have 2 unreliable internets, and then that should allow me to have internet every day. Sasha says, that's why I left Puerto Vallarta. I don't know if you're talking about like me talking about like cartels moving in because it becomes a more profitable place to do business. I think that's what you're talking about. Stony Vincent says, the disorder of fiber lines above in Mexico is so different from the neat installations in Colombia. Yeah, it's pretty frustrating sometimes. I'm like, come on, this city's so pretty, but then you have this nightmare of spider webs of tangled lines like above the streets on these really pretty streets that are 500 years old with these gorgeous facades. And then you have all these like cable lines and fiber lines. Come on, guys, hide it. Just spend a little bit of money and hide it. It looks so much better. When I was living in Guadalajara, I had one of those tangled messes of like power lines, fiber lines, cable lines, whatever they were, almost right outside the window. And one day, during a storm, I look outside and it's all on fire. Like it's totally on fire, literally right outside my window. Like, oh my God. It's like, unplug all the appliances. Jordan, do you ever feel like a Spaniard colonizer? No, I don't. If you're going by the definition of colonizer, you have an intention of changing the culture and changing the government. And I don't have any of those intentions. Jordan, do you have a Slavic origin? I'm part Norwegian, part German. Well, like a quarter Norwegian, quarter German, and a half, I don't know what, because my dad was adopted and it was a closed adoption. So I don't know that side of the family. Found out a little bit, like after he was able to get some political connections in the US, where he had access to a senator, he was able to find out a little bit about his parents. And he found out that his mom was an opera singer, my grandmother, and his dad was some politician in Texas. Daniel, thanks for the $9.99 super chat. Really appreciate that. There's no question associated with that, but I'll look to see if you leave another comment. Jordan, you should take 23andMe, a good video idea too. That'd be interesting. I'd consider doing that. And there's another kind out there that analyzes you to see if you have any markers for certain diseases or things you might need to know for your health, or like if you're prone to maybe be more susceptible to diabetes, for example. I think that would be an interesting thing to do. Changing the culture, changing the government. I don't have any of those intentions. What exactly a CIA member would say. Yep, you caught me with the CIA. Michael asks, how did you guys decide who would get to keep Alaska? It seems like that might be tough to work out. Well, I mean, I had her since she was 6 weeks old, and my ex met Alaska when she was, I think, 6 years old. So I'd already had Alaska for 6 years, and I'm like, that's not something I was going to give up. Like, I made a commitment when I got Alaska that I would give her a good life for her whole life, and I would never leave her. Like for the breakup, it was her car, so she took the car. And I didn't feel like I had any right to take the car. Dan, wow, with a $50 super chat. Thank you so much. And for being a channel member. Jordan, what are your top 5 points of interest to visit, including restaurants in Mexico City? I plan to visit in Distrito Federal in 2023. Man, Dan, I don't have a lot of great answers for you because I've only been there once, besides being in the airport, which I know is a total shame and I want to go back there soon. And it was like 4 years ago that I went there. However, I'm going to ask people who are familiar with Mexico City, like, what are the coolest things you can do there? Like, what are the places you need to see? Uh, the the restaurants you need to go to. I can give you a couple options. I can't give you 5 to 10, but I'm going to put a couple in the chat here. I forget the spelling, but it's like Museo Sumaya, something like that. Really, really cool place. It's free to go to. Uh, it's actually like everything in there, if I remember right, is owned by Carlos Slim, the richest person in Mexico. And instead of like hiding everything in his house or locking away in a safe, he decided to make a museum out of it and like, hey, I can securely store it in this museum while also allowing people to view it, which I think is pretty cool. And I don't know if I said this, but the museum is free. In fact, the building itself is a work of art. The building itself is amazing, just from the outside. Like, and then it has a bunch of different floors inside. I thought it was really interesting. Um, and then there's also like, I forget what it's called, maybe Castillo Chapultepec or something. It's this like castle-ish thing that's up on a hill that's also a museum kind of in one. Great views of the city. I don't know if I'm spelling this right or if it's even the name of it, but I'm going to put it in the chat here. It's been a long time since I've been there. But yeah, those are two things I'd recommend, and I'm sure you'll get some other good recommendations in the chat here. Sorry I couldn't be more help. You don't want to do those medical marker tests as it can give you issues for medical insurance. So I wonder if you get insurance before you get one of those tests, then if you're in the clear. I don't know. Here's another recommendation, Museo de Antropología. That I've heard really good things about that. I haven't been there myself. Also, that also reminds me though, there's a ruins literally right next to the Zocalo in downtown Mexico City that just the pure location of them, you have to go see it for that. Yeah, definitely go do that. It's a pretty cool place to see. If you want to go outside of the city, you have like Teotihuacan, but you have to like kind of plan a day trip for that. And depending on how much time you have in Mexico City, I don't know if that's going to be worth it. Okay, here's a few more recommendations. Restaurante El Cardenal, La Mexicana Park, and Coyoacán. Frida Kahlo's house is there. Interesting. Use a fake name for DNA testing. Oh, I like that idea. Christian asked, do you find aggressive street vendors running up to you in every city or only in major tourist traps? Mostly only in major tourist destinations. Like here in Queretaro, it doesn't really happen. Like there'll be street vendors, but they're just chilling there. like with their stuff that they're selling. They're not aggressive in any means. Is it possible to buy a lot from here? I've been researching El Campanario. Yeah, so, I mean, I'm sure it is possible. I wouldn't buy a house sight unseen. A lot seems like less of a risk to me. I'd still rather see it in person though. But maybe if you can hook yourself up with trusted people in the community, people who work in real estate. Like I've worked with Monica Wright. If you go on the Queretaro expats group on Facebook, you'll find her, and she's very trustworthy. But yeah, El Campanario, it's a nice neighborhood. It's an expensive neighborhood. I don't know how much lots are there, but I know if you want to buy a home there, you're probably looking at least $1 million. It's basically a neighborhood full of mansions, just one mansion after another. Amber asks, is inflation in Mexico as bad as it is in America right now? It's bad. I don't think it's as bad though. There's a lot of stuff that's produced here, which helps keep costs down. But even the stuff that's produced here, a lot of it is still subject to the prices of stuff on the world market, like the prices of the inputs that are produced here. So all the raw materials and stuff like that. But yeah, it's certainly higher here than it has been in previous years, but I don't think it's as bad as in the US. Would you like to do a collab with other YouTubers like Super Holly or someone else? Who would you like to collaborate with? Yeah, Super Holly would be awesome. Who else? There's a Mexican couple that do travel videos around. I haven't seen them in a while, and their name's slipping my mind. They've been around for a long time, though. That'd be cool. Alan por el Mundo. I'd love to collab with him. I think those are some Mexican YouTubers. Oh, Joss and Janik, yeah, that'd be a cool one. Especially now that Mai's in the picture, because they're a Mexican woman and a German guy, and we're a Mexican woman and an American guy, so that could be cool. Well, it's midnight where I am, so I think I'm gonna wrap this up. Normally I'm ending streams by like 10 at the latest, and tonight it started at 10. I wasn't sure if I would feel awake enough to do a stream at all tonight. But anyway, thank you all for joining. If you haven't seen the video from yesterday, go check that out. I really like that video. Go click on that video. Next, thank you to everyone who joined, everyone who left a comment, especially a big shout out to all the channel members and everyone who left super chats. Thank you so much. And can't forget the moderators as well. Thank you for helping to keep the chat clean. And anyway, we'll see you next week then. Have a good night, everyone.